Happening now, a massive winter storm slams the East Coast. We break down its forecasted impacts here in Western New York, and why the newly installed parking meters in Jamestown are causing trouble for motorists. Plus, we highlight the push to improve rural mental health resources in Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. Those stories and more are coming up. But first, we start once again today.
Every day. First Defense weather.
We start once again today with your First Defense weather forecast, as a major winter storm is impacting parts of New York State. Here in Western New York, we're expected to experience the outer edges of this nor'easter. This is some video from the village of Falconer, where a few inches of snow coated the grounds during this morning's commute. While our local area is expected to receive only around 6 inches of snow, areas farther east in upstate New York are experiencing feet of snow. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has issued a state of an emergency. She's encouraging residents to prepare for some snow and use caution while driving.
People in upstate say, well, snow's coming, another snowstorm. I've lived my whole life with snowstorms, but this is one we're cautioning people that this could be deadly. It is very, very hard to plow the roads when there are people in front of you or cars that insisted on venturing out and end up in a ditch and have to be rescued.
Now, in places like Albany, New York, high winds are expected to contribute to especially low visibility and therefore dangerous road conditions. In addition to hazardous winds, the snow is expected to be heavier than usual, which means power lines are at greater risk of coming down. Chief Weather Forecaster Andrew Stevenson joins us now with more on some of the impacts that we're seeing here across the state and at home. Andrew.
Yeah, there's winter storm warning still in place for eastern portions of the state and going out east. Back here across western New York, winter weather advisories remain in place until 5 o'clock tomorrow morning for Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, Allegheny, and southern Erie County, as well as southern Erie County in Erie, Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at this system. The low pressure system is currently centered over New England, and it's just pounding the eastern portions of New York State, as well as Vermont, New Hampshire, portions of Connecticut and Massachusetts are just getting pounded with snow out there, and they're already seeing more than 2 feet of snow, with more snow to come. In just a minute, I'll show you those snowfall totals that they have already received out there. Back here across western New York, we just got some light snow showers falling out there with heavier snow way off to our east. So here's a look at some of the snowfall totals they've already seen out there. And portions of Massachusetts and Windsor already up to 28 inches of snow. In Vermont, 21.4. Pittsfield, Massachusetts at 12.6. Back in portions of New York State, eastern New York, Clarksville at 10 inches, and Albany so far 6 inches of snow. This is snow they already got. They're going to see another foot of snow already on top of that still to come. Back here across western New York, we don't have that kind of snow, just a few inches. Mayville at 3.3, DeWittville at 2.5, Cattaraugus at 1.7, and here in Jamestown so far, the Jamestown Airport 1 inch. So for the rest of the afternoon out there, cloudy skies with light snow showers. It will be a chilly afternoon with temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. I'll have a look at the full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew, thank you. We remind you to be sure to stay up to date with the latest forecast by downloading the WNY News Now mobile app. Well, less than a year after the city of Jamestown implemented a new way of paying at parking meters downtown, it seems that system has begun to fall apart. In fact, even fail. Our Bronson Rasmussen joins us live in the newsroom with more on the parking meter situation. What's the latest here, Bronson?
Well, Justin, the various parking meters across the city were installed in late 2021, although the new online payment system rolled out in July, and now the internals of these meters have begun to fail this winter.
You'll notice that some of the meters have actually been replaced just with the coin. We have kind of retrofitted them to just use the coins in the meantime. Some meters, just the way that they're shaped, cannot handle that, so that it does say for the app. But we're now going on almost 2 months of not getting these batteries in, and we're having a lot of issues with the company that we are required to purchase them from as part of our agreement.
For Councilman Jeff Russell, he has heard concerns with the meters not accepting change, not allowing drivers that are not so tech savvy to park in the downtown area.
Her exact words to me was that, she's not against advancements. She understands that we need to move forward in technology and not be stuck in the past, but just wanted to make me aware that there are people that are struggling, in the senior community with using the apps downtown.
This is also a concern for local businesses.
She feels that could potentially drive people away, not want to come down, seniors, and then in her son's case, wouldn't want to be frequenting restaurants because of that.
Now, if you do receive a parking ticket due to these faulty meters, those of the Department of Public Works urge you to contact them at 716-483-7545. Reporting live in the newsroom, Bronson Rasmussen, WNY News Now.
An allegedly intoxicated Jamestown woman is accused of causing an injury accident on the city's north side. On Sunday night, Jamestown police responded to a motor vehicle accident with injury. Now, following an investigation, it was found that Kathy Potts was allegedly driving while intoxicated. The 59-year-old, officers say, crossed the middle lane and struck another vehicle. Occupants of that oncoming vehicle suffered an injury as a result of the collision. Potts was arrested and charged with DWI and moved from lane unsafely. She was later released with an appearance ticket. Officers tell us today that further charges could be pending in the case. Well, a push to restore a popular Lake Erie harbor in Chautauqua County took a big step forward this week. On Monday, Congressman Nick Langworthy announced the Army Corps of Engineers will start dredging the Barcelona harbor in May. They're months ahead of schedule. Last month at this time, the congressman met with county and town officials who outlined safety risks and shoaling that have formed after severe weather storms pummeled the county in recent years. Langworthy met with the Army Corps of Engineers to petition for harbor dredging. As a result of talks, the Army Corps agreed to move forward with dredging ahead of schedule, just in time for the summer season, a period the congressman says is critical for the lake economies along Lake Erie. A nationwide push is underway to bring light to the mental health crisis and break the stigma surrounding it, specifically in rural communities like Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties. Alyssa Wright has more from a meeting to connect local farmers and others living in rural areas to life-saving resources.
When one thinks of deadly illnesses, depression rarely comes to mind, when in fact suicide is one of the leading causes of death for young people.
WNY Minds was founded in 2012, and it was a result of a family tragedy in my family where my nephew died of suicide. So while I'm a native of Chautauqua County and I live in Mayville, we are a national organization. But this is a very important meeting to me because it's right in my backyard, and there are many friends and family members who are here today.
Rural Minds founder Jeff Winton soon realized that a big group of people were being left out of mental health resources.
When my nephew died, it became very apparent that a lot of the resources that are available were geared towards people that lived in big cities and suburbs and not small towns and rural areas.
On Monday, the Mayville, New York resident partnered with FarmNet family consultant Teresa McMahon to host a town hall meeting at the Ross Grange in Faulkner.
We get to meet people where they are, and we need to reach more, because between 5 and 24, the second leading cause of death is suicide for people. That's horrifying, and we have an epidemic with suicide.
There are warning signs everyone should know.
If you could, look for your loved ones and yourself for signs of changes in eating, energy levels, lack of sleep, pulling away from people. Hygiene can be worsened. You might not want to bathe every day. We get more down and down. I've had depression. I understand it, and I was resistant when I was a teenager to reach out. That's why I'm so glad that you can call anonymously, any line. You can also text a licensed mental health therapist at any time, day or night.
If you or a loved one are struggling with mental illness or thoughts of suicide, seek help from the Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988. Alyssa Wright, WNY News Now.
As WNY News Now continues, an update on the push to reach zero emissions by banning natural gas consumption. And later, with winter weather back in the picture, we hear from local race car drivers who are giving us a hands-on demonstration on how to properly save your car from a slide.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Have you ever wanted to live out your dreams? Hunt, fish, in all corners of the earth? Well, now's your chance. Follow Primitive Patriot Outdoors as we live out our dreams and show you how to live out yours through outdoor adventures. From Western New York to Africa to all corners of the earth, follow us on this adventure. It's an experience you've never seen before. Lead and Lures, Roku TV, channel 716.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Even though snow is in the forecast today for much of New York State, weather experts, they've pretty much classified this year's season to be a mild winter. As WNY's Deshaun Robinson reports, this is impacting grape production across the Empire State.
Despite the recent snow events, I think that we all can agree that it's been an unusually warm winter. The wild temperature swings can be very detrimental to the development of crops like the grapes behind me. Jason Londo, professor at the Cornell University, explains why the persistent cold is vital for grape production.
You need nice, long, persistent cold winter for them to put on all of their defenses for that given season. When you have a winter like this winter, which has been very mild, it's like they've been putting on their fall jacket all winter. And so they're not prepared when they step outside and they get that cold blast.
Despite the above-average temperatures we've had so far, Professor Londo believes there should be little to no impact on grape production for the upcoming season. David Stamp with Lakewood Vineyard said it's important to keep an eye on the vines when we have mild winters like this.
So when we have really mild winters, we can have an earlier bud break, and then that exposes us to a late frost. So we really like the buds to come out late April is the optimal time for them to come out, and it's usually when we're past that damaging frost.
Stamp says the warm winters can also disrupt operations if they can't get their machinery out into the fields.
It's been too warm for us to move equipment because the ground is soft and we don't want to tear things up. We would really kind of like it to, hover around 32 during the day and it'd be, 25 at night. So the ground is firm and we can chop brush, we can pound posts. It allows us to do more.
Both Professor Londo and Stamp agree that production should be at normal levels this season. In Watkins Glen, Deshaun Robinson, WNY News.
Mental health advocates are urging the governor and lawmakers to increase funding in our state budget for the cost of living adjustment. Our New York Capitol correspondent Elise Klein speaks to advocates and lawmakers about what an increase in funding could mean for New Yorkers.
Today, mental health advocates traveled to Albany to plead for an 8.5% increase to the cost of living adjustment in the state budget to bolster the mental health workforce. Some advocates are also pushing for lawmakers to invest $500 million in the state budget to help boost mental health services, including housing. Some advocates say this would make up for the years the cost of living adjustment was not increased.
The state has to make an investment. The governor has kicked us off with a great plan, but she's not addressed this. So all these great plans are good, but if you can't get staff to work in them, and people who need service aren't going to get them, then it's a failure.
Governor Hochul's executive budget proposes a 2.5% increase to the cost of living adjustment. Advocates are pushing for 8.5%. Some mental health workers say this increase to the cost of living adjustment is essential, especially for some New York counties who have less resources.
I love to do peer work. I could be making a lot more money doing anything else, but I make do on what I make. But not everyone's willing to struggle just to help people. They want to help people and flourish as well. So you have to give them that chance.
Some lawmakers agree. They say 8.5 is the minimum the mental health workforce needs to be able to recruit and retain workers.
So this is an adjustment to make sure that a mom can buy eggs and put gas in her car and pay for childcare for her kids, right? And so the fact that we have to fight for this every single year is really something we shouldn't have to do.
Brooks says the legislature is considering tying the cost of living adjustment to inflation. She recently introduced a bill in the Senate that would do just that. In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
Municipalities in nearly a dozen states have adopted a zero-emissions ordinance to decarbonize. Now, some ordinance applies only for new construction. Others apply for whenever a home or business upgrades an appliance or heating system. For example, according to the EPA, in 2020, commercial and residential building emissions accounted for 13% of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. But as more towns and cities look to crack down on things like natural gas, Republican lawmakers in Pennsylvania are trying to get ahead of them by enacting energy choice legislation. Republicans are pushing an energy choice bill that would prohibit municipalities from banning any type of utility based on the type of energy. Some climate advocates, though, they're critical of this. They say that the legislation is a move to protect the natural gas industry in the Commonwealth.
So it's disingenuous. They're making it sound like this is to protect anybody from any form of energy that they want to use, but that's not what it's about. It's about perpetuating the natural gas industry. And again, we are running out of time to deal with climate change. We need to get off natural gas.
Republicans say the municipal bans in places like California have increased energy costs for consumers, and they want to do everything they can to prevent that from happening in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Well, coming up next, we return with a full look at our weather forecast as a big winter storm continues to move across the East Coast. Andrew will join us just after this with a breakdown of what we can expect to see here at home.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first. WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
15-year-old Yadiel Diaz was subject to a public humiliation stunt by a fellow student in an act of violence and bullying. Now Yadiel's mother, Raquel, has had enough.
Officials are trying to work with the county's homeless coalition to help support the homeless population locally. There are also plans in the works to build 2 new shelters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
Move over.
When you see signs,
Lights.
Vests.
please give us some room.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over. When you need help,
It's our job
To help you.
to save you.
despite the danger.
This danger.
This danger is real.
Do your part.
Please.
Slow down. Slow down. And move over.
Move over.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense Weather.
Welcome back to WNY News Now. Currently downtown Jamestown, we got some light snow showers out there. Currently 22 degrees at the Jamestown Airport with a north wind of 16 miles per hour, and that's making it feel like 8 degrees out there with the wind chill. The Almanac, the high yesterday was 33 degrees, the low was 29. The records for today, the record high 75 degrees set back in 1990, and the record low of -1 set back in 2005. Let's take a look where we stand in terms of snowfall, because we've gotten some more snow lately. On average for this time of year, we should be at 89.3 inches. October 1st today at the Jamestown Airport, we're only at 49.7 inches, which means we're still about 40 inches below where we should be for the winter season. Let's take a look at future scan the next 24 hours, or next 24 to 40 hours. Through the rest of the afternoon, some light snow showers along with some lake enhancement across the Chautauqua Ridge and the highest hills. As that northeast system pulls off into the Atlantic Ocean, that snow will come to an end later tonight, as well as the lake effect snow. And then high pressure will begin to build in tomorrow, and that's going to provide dry weather for Wednesday and Thursday. After a few clouds tomorrow, we should go mostly sunny skies for the rest of the afternoon tomorrow, and then we stay dry into tomorrow night, and then stay dry as we head into Thursday. There will be a few more clouds around on Thursday. We'll go partly cloudy skies on Thursday. Here's a look at snowfall totals running through tomorrow morning. Generally, maybe an inch or two across the southern tier. Northwestern Pennsylvania, getting up to the higher elevations on our highest hilltops, looking at another 3 to 4, maybe 5 inches where there's the lake effect snow, where there's more lake effect snow enhancement. And now an extended forecast from Ultimate Satellite Solutions. We're also going to be warming up a little bit over the next few days. Tomorrow we'll go mid-30s. We'll push the mid-40s on Thursday. Now out ahead of a cold front on Friday, we should make it into the lower 50s before that cold front moves through, brings in some more rain showers, and then cools us off as we head back into the weekend with temperatures in the lower 30s and a chance for some snow showers Saturday and Sunday.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Let's get some headlines now from around the nation. And a startling trend for hate crimes in the U.S. New FBI data shows reported hate crimes increased by nearly 12% in 2021. Some 12,000 people were victims. 65% were targeted because of their race or ethnicity. 16% for sexual orientation, while 14% because of their religion. And these statistics are still incomplete. Many law enforcement agencies haven't submitted reports to the new National Incident-Based Reporting System. The senior FBI officials say hate crimes largely go unreported. Well, the Biden White House says the nation's banking system remains secure. This despite the collapse of 2 banks over the weekend. Signature Bank was seized by state regulators Sunday. The other, Silicon Valley Bank, resulted in the largest lender failure in roughly 15 years. John Lawrence has more.
The Federal Reserve is placing Silicon Valley Bank under the microscope.
I've lived through a lot of crises. And it's very easy to know what went wrong the day after the crisis is over. It's very difficult to know what's going wrong before you have the crisis.
Michael Barr, the Fed's vice chair for supervision, is leading the probe, which will focus on how regulators, including some feds, missed the financial storm.
We feel like it wasn't our responsibility as depositors to maintain faith in the bank, but it should be the bank's responsibility through sound judgment to take care of the funds that we deposited with them, in which Silicon Valley Bank failed to do so.
The Fed's review is scheduled to be publicly released May 1st.
We'll learn a lot more facts and we'll have a lot more opinions of what happened. And I guarantee you that we will regulate for whatever went wrong this time, but next time it will be something different.
President Joe Biden outlined his plan to contain the collapse on Monday, but some customers still made a bank run.
We have an obligation with payroll. We have an electrical business, and we have to meet payroll.
Meanwhile, lawmakers are calling for action.
For us in Congress, we need to revisit some of the regulation that was loosened on these regional mid-sized banks not so long ago. I certainly opposed that loosening at the time.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
An Ohio man is recovering from a rather odd injury. He was bitten by a zebra. Police responding to a home in Circleville after the attack was reported found a man with severe injuries to his arm. They used a tourniquet to control his bleeding. As they were caring for the man, the male zebra was lingering around, acting aggressive as he protected several female zebras in a nearby field. Another man who was also there told officers that they should put the animal down if necessary. When the zebra approached, officers aggressively, one of them fired a shot and killed it. The injured man currently listed in fair condition. Now, the Ohio town is about 28 miles south of Columbus. State law in Ohio doesn't forbid someone from owning a zebra. That's a very interesting story, nevertheless. You never would have thought that there'd be zebras roaming around in rural Ohio. Well, staying here in Western New York, if you hit the ice, your car might start to slide today. You probably experienced something like this throughout the winter season. A lot of people might be asking, how do you get back control of your vehicle? Erie News Now's Kara Jeffers sent out to hear from experts with some advice.
Race car drivers Ben Bruno and Andrew Donaldson spend their days burning rubber while drifting.
The best way to not slide is to take some time and learn how to slide first, because that's going to give you kind of an idea of what inputs do I do to the car that create a slide, and then you just tone all of them back.
From their expertise, they were able to break down what happens when your car starts sliding on slippery roads.
There's two different slides that can occur. There's the slide that happens when you're trying to slow down, and then there's the slide that happens when you're trying to take a corner.
The slowing down slide is called oversteering. It's usually what's going on when the back of your car comes loose. It's especially common in front-wheel drive vehicles. The turning slide, which is when the car goes straight even though you're trying to turn, is called understeering.
Both of those are ultimately a failure of the car not being able to provide enough grip to turn or slow down.
In the case of understeering, you lost control because you asked your car to do too much. A car can either speed up, slow down, turn left, or turn right. Racers call these inputs. You can do each input gently or more aggressively. If you do two inputs at the same time, like turn and speed up, there is a limit to how aggressively you do both before you lose grip. So in an understeer, your car keeps going straight even when you asked it to turn because you turned too sharply, too fast. How do you fix it?
Do one thing at one time with the car.
So in an understeer,
when the car is sliding and you're going straight but you want to be turning a direction, the easiest way to fix that is straighten the wheel up and then lift off of either of the inputs, your gas or your brake.
This resets the car. By turning the steering wheel the way the car is already going, which is straight, there is one less input, so the car has less to perform. This is why the term turn into the slide works. The solution for an oversteer, when the back of your car comes loose, is the same.
Start to go in, you hit a patch of ice, the back of the car is going to want to go like that. Then everything wants to continue to move that way.
So you let it. If the back of your car is sliding to the right, then turn the wheel to the right. Because you went the direction the car was already going, it straightens out, and then you can maneuver from there. And that's how you get out of a slide.
All right, Erie News Now's Kara Jeffers reporting. And Andrew, I think this is something that we all can relate to, right? In fact, I unfortunately last fall had a issue where I maybe didn't have the best snow tires in the world. It was time to change them, and I crashed into a truck. Luckily, no injuries. Now I have awesome snow tires. But that's the thing. It's so tough. And unless you're a race car driver, a lot of people maybe don't know how to maneuver properly in the snow.
I think the best way to avoid this slide is don't go driving in the winter weather.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have to drive in the winter weather to get to work or other places we need to go. But yeah, if you want to avoid the slide, don't go out driving in the winter.
Right. And that, like you mentioned, though, it's so tough because there are so many people here in Western New York who have to go to work or school, and you can slow down and on days like today where they keep up with the roads pretty well because there's not so much precipitation at once, it's not so bad. But nevertheless, it's always Good old Mother Nature here.
And even if you do have winter tires, it's still not guaranteed you're not going to get into a slide. They help, but you still have problems sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Hopefully there's no slipping and sliding for you out there on the roadways. Here's a live look in Cattaraugus County over Whedon Park in Randolph. The news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com.